The fundamental principles of Marxism. The tradition of Marxism has provided a powerful and sustained critique of capitalist institutions and ethics. Its founder, Karl Marx, was a German political, economic, and philosophical theorist and revolutionist. Marx attempted to seek the structural causes behind what he saw as a system of capitalist exploitation and degradation in order to offer solutions in the spheres of economics and politics. His main objection to capitalism was that class owned the means of economic production. The bourgeoisie has central means of production and has concentrated property in a few hands. The correlative of this is the oppression and exploitation of the working class. Another objection is the imperialistic nature of the bourgeois enterprise. In order to perpetuate itself, capitalism must spread its tentacles all over the world. The bourgeoisie cannot exist without constantly revolutionizing the instruments of production. Marx also tells us that the bourgeoisie must necessarily give a cosmopolitan character to production and consumption in every country, that raw material is drawn from the remotest zones, that demand for new products ever increases, that the bourgeoisie compels all nations on pain of extinction to adopt the bourgeois mode of production. In short, the bourgeoisie creates a world after its own image. Capitalism reduces all human relationships to a cash nexus, self-interest, and egotistical calculation. The main premise of the materialist conception of history is that man's first historical act is the production of means to satisfy his material needs. The production of life, both labor and procreation, is natural and social. Any given mode of production is combined within a given stage of social cooperation. Only after passing through these historical moments can we speak of men possessing consciousness, which is itself a social product. Therefore, the realms of ideology, politics, law, morality, religion, and art are not independent but are a reflection of a people's material behavior. Life is not determined by consciousness, but consciousness by life. Marx observes that the class which is struggling for mastery must gain political power in order to represent its interest as the general interest. This is the germ of Marx's concept of ideology. Marx states that the class which is the ruling material force in society is also the ruling intellectual force. Having at its disposal the means of production, it is empowered to disseminate its ideas in the realms of law, morality, religion, and art as possessing universal verity. Thus, dominant ideas of the aristocracy, such as honor and loyalty, were replaced after bourgeois ascendancy by ideas of freedom and equality. Marx's notion of ideology is this: the ruling class represents its own interests as the interests of the people as a whole. The materialistic conception of history is characterized by a number of features. First, it is the activity and conditions of material production, not mere ideas, which determine the structure of society and the nature of individuals. Law, art, religion, and morality are a reflection of these material relations. Second, the evolution of division of labor issues in the concentration of private property, a conflict between individual and communal interests, and estrangement or alienation of social activity. Third, all struggles within the state are euphemisms for the real struggle between classes. It is this struggle which generates social change. 4. Once technologically assisted capitalist accumulation concentration, and world expansion have led to a world of sharply contrasting wealth and poverty, and working classes become conscious of their historical role, capitalism itself will yield to a communism which will do away with private property and base itself on human need rather than the greed of a minority of increasing profit. 5. The exploitation of women, an intrinsic feature of capitalist economics, will also be abolished along with private property and the family as an economic unit. Marx's critique of capitalism is dialectical. He regarded capitalist society as an unprecedented historical advance from centuries of unenlightened and superstitious feudalism. The bourgeois emphasis on reason, practicality, its technological enterprise in mastering the world, its ideals of rational law and justice, individual freedom and democracy were all hailed by Marx as historical progress. His point was not that communism would somehow displace capitalism in its entirety, but that it would grow out of capitalism and retain its ideals of freedom and democracy. The essential difference is that a communist society would realize these ideals. Marx points out that the individual in capitalist society is effectively the bourgeois owner of property. Individual freedom is merely economic freedom, the freedom to buy and sell. The constitution and the laws are entirely weighted in favor of large business interests and owners of property. One of the main sins of capitalism is that it reduced all human relations to commercial relations. Even the family cannot escape such commodification. Marx states that to the bourgeois man, the wife is reduced to a mere instrument of production. In a bourgeois society, capital is independent and has individuality, but the living person is dependent and has no individuality.